And we are live. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, and welcome to the B2B Sales Pulse, a unique event. We explore the intricate world of B2B sales. I'm Dan Balcauski, your host for today's experience, the founder of Product Tranquility and the host of the SaaS Scaling Secrets podcast. I am joining you today from chilly but sunny Austin, Texas. I'm thrilled you could join us for what promises to be an enlightening session. For those of you who may be joining via LinkedIn or other channel, there is a registration link. So if you or your colleagues want a recording, there will be a recording sent out afterwards. I will drop that in the overall comments. So given that we're live, if that for whatever reason doesn't work, feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or otherwise, and I'll be happy to help you get that recording for your colleagues. I'm sure we're going to have a bunch of really high value delivered today by our panelists. Speaking of which, without further ado, let me introduce our esteemed panelists, some of the best minds in B2B sales. So let me quickly bring in here. Our first panelist is Rajiv Raman, co-founder and chief revenue officer of SpendFlow, an ISB alum with over 20 years of deep expertise in SaaS. Rajiv previously led and scaled multiple nonlinear growth channels at Freshworks. Having personally worked with over 5,000 vendors, he's now on a mission to revolutionize how companies buy and sell software. Rajiv's approach is beautifully simple yet profound. People buy from people. Hello, Rajiv. Welcome.
Thanks a lot, Dan, and thanks a lot, everyone, for your time today. So happy to be in this panel and share my thoughts.
We are very excited to have you join us. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Our next up is Roy Solomon. Roy is the CEO and co-founder of SalesRoom, a cutting-edge platform revolutionizing sales with real-time guidance and personalized coaching. As an experienced entrepreneur and sales expert, Roy has a proven track record of building and scaling successful companies, including Applause, which was acquired by Vista Equity. Today, he's also an active angel investor and go-to-market investor in the B2B SaaS space. Roy's approach to sales is refreshingly holistic. Sales is an outcome, not a goal. It's a function of doing numerous things right. Hello, Roy. Welcome.
Hey, Dan. Thank you. Good to be in. That's the best intro I think I ever had. So maybe you should join me whenever everything.
We could talk about that. I'm also open to sponsorship opportunities. So thank you so much for spending your time with us today, Roy. We're excited for your participation. Matt Wolach, partner and CRO at TestRigger, will join us next. Matt has an impressive track record as a serial entrepreneur with 3 successful exits. Beyond his current role helping software companies automate their testing processes, Matt has coached hundreds of software founders and leaders on the art and science of closing more deals. Matt's sales philosophy cuts right to the core. Help, don't sell. You'll sell more. Hello, Matt. Welcome.
Hey, Dan. Good to see you again. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us today, or actually your mountain time, so maybe just before noon for you. So thank you for joining us. Looking forward to what you have to offer the audience today. And last but certainly not least, we have Jake Dunlap, CEO of Scaled Consulting and an industry-leading voice on modern sales and revenue trends. Jake has helped thousands of revenue leaders at companies like Microsoft, Splunk, the NFL, and the NBA modernize their sales performance through his modern sales framework. His approach to quickly breaking down the complexities of scaling have made him a trusted advisor to sales leaders worldwide. Jake loves helping companies solve business challenges, meeting with leaders, understanding their strategic needs, and then putting the solution in place that drives big results. Hello, Jake. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on, man? It is a little chilly in Austin, but it kind of feels nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it's July, you're praying for this all day, you know?
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Well, good to have you. And I am so excited. Thanks to each of our panelists for joining us today. Everyone here is in for a real treat, given the breadth and depth of experience these gentlemen bring. And for those of you who joined us after I gave my little intro, for those of you who maybe have to, please don't leave. This is going to be entertaining the whole way through, I promise. But maybe you want to savor these nuggets of wisdom long after the day has passed. There is a registration link in the comments section. And there we'll share the recording after the event. Also, if you want to share that with colleagues, etc. So please do so. But everyone, hold on. This isn't your standard run-of-the-mill webinar. We're shaking things up with a game show twist. That's right. Our panelists today are not just experts. Today, they're also our contestants. And guess what? our audience, you play a crucial role tool. Feel free to cheer for your favorite contestant in the comments, get involved, ask questions. Who knows, if I see a question in the comments that's just too tantalizing, I might throw it in as a bonus surprise challenge for our panel. So we'll start with a quick icebreaker game to kick things off. The game will determine who goes first in our main event. All right. So let's do this. Wait, that's not what I want yet. So here's how the game works. I will ask a question. You will give me your answer. You can't give the same answer as another contestant. The closest guess without going over wins. The winner will go first in our main game. Simple, right? Let's see how our experts fare. So contestants will guess in the order I introduced them, which happens to be in order from farthest away to closest with me here in Austin. That means Rajiv, you'll go first, then Roy, then Matt, and then Jake. No cheating, no talking amongst yourselves, and as always, no wagering. Contestants ready?
Ready.
All right, let's play. Your question is, Gartner's Future of Sales 2025 report predicts that this percentage of B2B sales interactions will occur in digital channels. Remember, the closest guess without going over will get to pick the first category in our main event, and you can't give the same answer as another contestant. Rajiv, what is your answer?
Sorry, Dan.
Do you need me to repeat the question? Do you
Yes,
need to
please.
repeat it? Gartner's Future of Sales 2025 report predicts that this percentage of B2B sales interactions will occur in digital channels.
It's 78%.
78%. Wow. Coming hot with the precision on that answer. Roy?
I was about to say 79, so I'll take it.
Oh, man. You guys have watched your fair share of Price is Right in your day, just capping him out. Matt, you are next. What is your response?
My initial thought was 81%. So that was where I wanted to land. And I'm hoping that I don't miss on the 80%, but I got to say 81.
81%. All right. And Jake, what is your answer?
All right. So is this like Price or Right? Like if they just go over and like I'm under, like if I bid $1, like I win, or is it just the most accurate? Here?
Yeah. Well, you cannot go over.
I'm going to go one under. I'm going to go 77%.
77%. Wow.
Going first is not advantageous, sir. Let's put it that way.
Yes, and I will say to the audience, we did not share this with the panelists before, so they had no idea what I was going to ask. The answer is 80%. 80% of B2B sales interactions are predicted to occur in digital channels, reflecting a continued shift from analog processes to digital customer engagement. So that means our winner of the first round would be Roy. Roy, because you guessed 79%, you were the closest without going over. Sorry, you were on the positive.
It's Gartner. Of course, they would choose a number. Come on.
Exactly. Well, again, they are not a sponsor. We thank them for providing that statistics. I am open to bribery for future episodes of B2B Sales Pulse. Great job, everyone. Congratulations to Roy on selecting the right answer. And now it's time for the main event, our B2B Sales Pulse game. This is our game board today that outlines 9 different topic areas for our panel. Hidden behind each of these popular movie titles lies a related question representing a challenging situation facing B2B sales pros every day. Today's topics are Moneyball, Groundhog Day, The Fast and the Furious, Coach Carter, Glengarry Glen Ross, The Imitation Game, Sherlock Holmes, Ready Player One, and Mission Impossible. Here's how we'll play. Roy, you'll kick things off by selecting the first topic and answering the corresponding question. After that, we'll go Matt, Jake, Rajiv. And then for the next topic, after that, Matt will pick the first question. We'll go continue on. That way, everyone gets a chance to lead off the discussion. Contestants, we love tactical, pragmatic answers. Try to keep your initial response under 2 minutes to keep the game moving. And feel free to challenge each other. Debate is encouraged. No fisticuffs, please. And as a reminder, I have the ultimate power here. If anyone goes on too long, I might have to mute mics. or a more dramatic twist, play the wrap it up banner. So, but it's all in good fun. We will, audience, chime in with your thoughts, questions, comments along the way. Root for your favorite contestant. Contestants, any questions?
No, let's do it.
All right, let's rock and roll. Roy, as the winner of the Icebreaker, which category would you like to tackle first?
I'll go with Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. Fantastic. Your mission for this category, should you choose to accept it, help your prospect unmute themselves in under 10 seconds. But otherwise, your question for this is, your sales team has adopted several new tools over the past year. Many reps report feeling overwhelmed and adoption rates are inconsistent. How would you evaluate and optimize your tech stack to ensure it empowers your team rather than hinders them? Roy?
Oh, I'm going first. Sorry. Yeah, I'm a big believer in a very lean stack. And feedback from the team. So I would look at utilization data, what is being used in the field, ask the team what's the impact, look at the pipeline, won and lost, and try to figure out with enablement or with leadership or kind of what's the impact on each one of those cohorts, and strive as much as I can for a very lean infrastructure for the team. One search box to get information, one AI model or data model to prepare for meetings, to prepare the contracts, and be the best versions of themselves.
Thank you so much for that, Roy. So looking at adoption rates and whittling down, so one tool per area. Love that. Next on the same question, Matt.
Yeah, so this is a good one because my team also, we have a lot of different tools. We're trying to figure out the validity of each one and whether we need to keep each one. I think that there's a term that I really love called software fatigue. And this refers to when you're selling, a lot of leaders in the world of business have software fatigue because everybody has a tool and every incoming pitch that they're getting is somebody's tool that they need. Well, it's the same thing with your team, your sales reps. They have software fatigue. There's all kinds of different tools that you're pushing on them. Make sure you use this and don't forget about that and that. And I think we really need to evaluate what's actually going to help them and focus from a rep's perspective of what's going to improve their day, what's going to get them into a spot that they can be more comfortable and they can close more deals, and look at which tools are going to fit. Ideally, I love combining tools. We just did that with one of them. We combined 3 tools into one that does all those 3 things, making it much easier on our team. So I want to make sure we can make all the tools efficient and not have software fatigue from our team.
Absolutely love that answer. Jake?
Yeah, we take a pretty standardized approach to this, which is what's the bottleneck in the sales organization? And that's where we should be looking to deploy either process changes or tech changes. I think too often we hear about a shiny new thing. The team hears about a shiny new thing, and we want to, consolidate unnecessarily, or we want to invest in something new. And the reality is, when you look at throughput, which is all a revenue organization is, and you look at, where are people spending time unnecessarily, and then, making sure that we deploy a tool there. Where are the bottlenecks in the sales process? Is there a tool that can help us? But I'll say the most important part is not the tools you select, is the reinforcement and adoption plan. Because that is actually where all of these technology deployments fall down, is most of them are deployed at like 20% because they're rushed out. So even if you're going to select like the lean tech stack, the deployment plan, I'd rather a company, do work with less technology deployed fully than trying to implement too many things that, again, aren't based on the data or aren't based on like what actually the business needs to solve for.
Like the golf coach, you gotta play through the ball. It's not just about the purchase, but about having a solid rollout and continuous adoption plan. And I think we've all been in corporate life on the other side of those. Like, here's a shiny new tool, good luck, and then it does not portend success. Rajiv.
Yeah, for us, it's a very different equation because I don't know if it's a boon or a bane. As a company, what we do is we help companies save money on technology spend. So we keep buying software on a daily basis. So we keep seeing new software stacks. And it's very tempting for us to try out a lot of things to come up with identifying which tool is going to elevate our processes. But what we've done is we actually made it very simple. Okay, our core philosophy is to make sales as human as possible. So we went through the whole channel of our whole life cycle of customers through us, and we figured out there are two things that are extremely important for us. One is every tool should have strong integration capabilities. We don't want a tool that does a job extremely well, but the data is held somewhere else and people have to keep switching to do their jobs, right? So if we find that data has gravity and if the data is able to move through the value chain and have a single view of the customer across the entire sales process, those are kind of tools that we enable and encourage our teams to try and implement. Second, we buy tools that only accelerate work and act as a friend to our sales teams and not something that will give them more work rather than what they are supposed to do. So we are very particular about protecting the time and efficiency of the team. At the same time, we are open to try out new tools, and typically I have a small committee of people who try out new tools first to see whether it fits into our stack and fits into our philosophy to sell. So that's how we make decisions, and that has worked so well so far.
So having a single data source of truth, and then also having designated folks on the team who are your sort of lead pioneers for exploring these new possibilities, and it also being respective of the team's time and making sure it's helpful to them. Love that. And also, I will reiterate for the panelists. Sounds like everyone had really good points there. If there are disagreements on any of these questions, feel free to jump in and fire back. Be like, no, Rajiv, I don't believe that. This is why you're wrong. We do encourage it. But awesome. So Matt will have next pick of our game board. So Matt, so Mission Impossible has been taken out of the race. Of the 8 remaining categories, what do you select?
I mean, we need to go to the best bad movie of all time, which is The Fast and the Furious.
Fast and the Furious, because who doesn't like seeing the same movie 20 times?
Exactly.
All right. So you're advising a sales leader who wants to shift from quarterly reviews of sales processes to much faster optimization cycles. What framework would you recommend for identifying high impact areas to optimize, and what success metrics would you be keeping an eye on to validate your approach?
Okay, so can you explain that a little bit deeper? They're looking to implement what now?
They're looking to move to faster optimization cycles for their sales processes. So how would you identify, which, is there's probably, a little bit of a status quo bias, right? Or maybe a little bit longer of a cadence, maybe it's annual or quarterly, and you're looking to speed that up. How would you look at where to focus them first?
So I think a lot of times people get stuck on trying to create efficiencies. And if you take a look at one of the main metrics I love looking at is sales cycle. So if you combine close rate with sales cycle, and I like looking at sales cycle in segments. What is the lead to demo cycle? What is the demo to plan, maybe a proof of concept cycle? What is a proof of concept to close, depending on how you break it up? And looking at each of those individually to see where we are too slow and where we're doing really well. And once you identify that, then you can start to look at what can we do within this piece of the funnel to be able to improve it. A lot of times it could be training. Maybe the team is lacking some skills, some technique to be able to move prospects through the funnel a little bit quicker. It could be like we just talked about, the tooling that's not helping them. They're spending too much time, just like Jake said. So I love getting really granular and breaking it up as much as possible to identify exactly where the issues might be so that we can break that down, rebuild it, retrain, and get people into a good spot.
Guys, getting granular. Love that, Matt. Jake, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, this is part of what we're kind of rolling out as a company. We've identified what we call the gains metrics, which are pipeline velocity, win rate by stage, sales cycle by stage, NRR, and rep productivity. And this question is spot on. Sales has moved too slow for too long. People redo their playbooks every 2 to 3 years or do new sequences every 6 to 12 months. But we're pumping so much data through systems. The way that we do this is we install almost like a day trader style dashboard with every client. And what happens is they then look at that on a probably bi-weekly basis. We then look at what the challenge is, like why are deals consistently dropping from 3 to 4? You go then audit, 10 gong calls, and you go, we got to fix this part of the script. Fix it, go, all right, next thing, right? Like this is an always optimizing machine. Throughput is never optimized. And sales is very archaic in terms of how it thinks about optimization cycles. So that is how we do it. We establish those kind of 5 key metrics. We look at the win rates by stage, the sales cycle by stage, pipeline, and pretty quickly you just start to see that's the bottleneck. What's the issue? Is it a process issue or is it a tech issue? It's a process issue. Fix it. New script. Deploy. Train. Boom. Next thing. So this is the future. Like B2B teams have to operate like this, in our opinion.
That's great. It's when you said the day trader, I don't know if you see that meme with like the guy's got the 8 monitors up. So I just imagine every sales rep sitting there with all their
every ops leader should. I mean, and VP of sales should for sure.
Awesome. Rajiv.
See, we look at it on a monthly basis. So again, win rates, close rates are 2 metrics that we continuously follow along with sales cycle. All these things, in my opinion, have to be looked in conjunction. These are all separate metrics, but when you look at it together, it tells you a better story. And once you understand the story, say for example, if my pipeline velocity is high, but we are not able to move exactly how the panelists spoke about so far. Right? If we are not able to have enough velocity, but we are not able to move people through stages, then we know that either it's a process issue or it's a people issue. We have to take immediate action on that. And if you look at it on a monthly basis, and we track all leading indicators for it, amount of pipe that we have, amount of pipe we are generating by channel, by segment, are we generating enough ICP pipe? That's a very important question, right? If we are generating a lot of pipe, but we are closing a lot of deals lost unnecessarily, so we know that we are not investing in the right places. So we take decisions based on all these 3 metrics, and obviously NRR comes much later, but I believe that these 3, close rate, win rate, along with the sales cycle, monitoring it very effectively is very important.
Absolutely love that. And Roy, how do you think about this?
Yes. Just to add, I think we are at an inflection point with AI that the tension between quota forecasting and it's by nature, it's structured data, right? We're trying to fill up the CRM of some sort, but in reality, sales, it's about people and conversations, so by definition, unstructured. And we always have this tension in a weekly sprint, in a monthly, in a quarterly, on what the CRM tells us or the forecasting sheet tells us and what actually we hear from the team. And I think we are moving from structure to very much unstructured and analyzed very, very well. I think all 3 panelists mentioned that in a few ways, but I would look at or kind of use the data to look at not just the velocity of the pipeline, but also what actually is being discussed, what topics, what objections are we getting in the field? How do we react to those objections? It's beyond than just call recording at that point. It's a data model that understands your sales cycle and understand what you're trying to achieve and serve as, sorry if I use the word, agent or an assistant, choose your buzzword, both on the rep level, but also as the CRO level. Both have obviously different motivations and data points, but at the end of the day, they're both swimming at the same direction. And so the data model needs to represent that as well.
So very analytical approach from all of you. So making sure you have a good data model, getting very granular with their metrics, working backwards into process technology, all those items. Love it. And so I think that's the end for that question. And back to our game board, Jake is up. So Jake, which category would you like to take next?
Let's go with the classic. Let's go Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross.
Oh, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross. Best answer in this category, bragging rights. Second best, set of steak knives. Jake, your question is, you're coaching a sales team struggling to build trust in a digital-first sales environment. What mistakes do you commonly see teams in this situation make? How do you guide them to better establish credibility?
This is a great question. It's funny. I actually see this usually being a leadership problem more than that, is that sales leaders have been trained like, you got to get them on the phone. You got to get on the phone. You got to get on the phone. And today, digital buyers, different people want different experiences. So I think what reps are really struggling with, and therefore leaders, is to understand, we call it the difference between a vetted, an educated, a cold, and then potentially even a self-service buyer. And so a lot of this is, how can I quickly identify, like, oh, Jake's actually here, so let me meet them with this digital asset. And then for the first time we actually talk, I've sent the demo, I've done this, then I loop in these 4 or 5 other people. So I think a lot of this comes down to the ability to personalize the right digital content and digital experience for individual buyers, versus we're used to executing a very conveyor belt, like everyone gets the same experience. So I think that's what reps and leaders are struggling with the most, is how do I move away from the one size fits all B2B medic-based sales motion to a multi-channel, everybody's a little bit different, and how do I meet them where they are in their buying process?
Yeah. So helping the leadership understand we live in a new dimension, and I'm sure all the reps on there are on the audience are frantically shaking their head in agreement with you, Jake. All right, Rajiv, how do you think about this?
I think great answer, Jake. I think today it's not just about leadership struggling, but I also find that today we have a lot of data. We know exactly what a user's journey is, where they are landing, what they are rating before they come and talk to you. So there's a huge amount of data that is available for reps today. And at the same time, there's also an organizational issue that I see, where in the previous generation, marketing's role was to create demand and sales role was to close demand. And today the handover is happening from marketing to sales when a lead is generated. But honestly speaking, the buyer is still not ready to buy. So the roles of marketing is actually coming into play again, where we are able to re-engage the customer again and again through different sales processes and different sales channels and stuff like that to move the deal through, right? So the roles of marketing and sales today are merging together to create every dollar that is spent to acquire a customer more effective, right? So that challenge is still not solved across different organizations. So our sales teams should leverage other teams to ensure that they are moving their deals faster and leveraging different assets at different touch points of customers and different channels to move deals faster. So that is very personalized. And today there is a lot of options to do that. So that I see is the biggest challenge. And if we understand that, we'll be able to drive our delivery better.
Understanding that, yeah, you have different needs at different stages of the journey, and that maybe that buying cycle is extended and is not quite as linear as maybe it's been taught in the past, if it ever was as linear. And let's see. So Roy, you're up next. How do you think about this?
Sure. So a few thoughts. I think, especially now in 2024, going into 25, we're asking salespeople to be, or account executives to be more CSMs, and we're asking CSMs to be a lot more salespeople. And I think the industry, or kind of the marketing to sales stack, was a bit too fixated on signals. So if someone downloaded a white paper on subject X, now the sequencing for now and ever is going to be at that subject X. I think buyers are more sophisticated than that. So to me, trust equals preparation. So we need to give reps and CSMs time to prepare for their touch points, to prepare the either collateral, meeting plans, meeting follow-ups, and give them the tools to do so. And expect them to be sensitive and empathic with their buyers. So not just assume because you said in meeting one that your pain point is X, that from now on the entire, and it's tagged in your Salesforce, HubSpot, and now again all the communication is around that. Constantly ask open-ended questions. Ask what changed since last time which we spoke, even if it was just a week ago. We're still dealing with people on the buying side. Maybe it will change to agents, bots as well at some point. But as long as people are buying, I think we have to expect our reps to be more creative and more sensitive in the way they communicate in order to build the ultimate trust.
Helping, preparation was a big key there to help your reps help the prospects along. And let's see, Matt, you get to go up next, a final on this question.
Yeah, sure. I think this is a great question because trust is critical within the sales process. And sometimes we hear that word, and if we're a rep, a lot of reps think, okay, in order to build trust, I have to prove that I know a lot, that I'm an expert, or at least that our company is an expert, that we're great at this. We know all this stuff. But Zig Ziglar said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think actual trust comes from where we realize we don't have to sell. The category title that you have for us here, Dan, Glengarry, Glenn Ross, easy for me to say. Alec Baldwin literally drills into the team, ABC, always be closing. And that's the famous scene with the chalkboard, and he's always be closing. He's telling them that. And that's the message that sales leaders are giving to sales reps. And they're slamming it. You got to close. You got to close. Of course, the leadership is hearing it from above and from the board. And you've got to get these numbers and that number. And it makes the reps push and push and push. And it means the prospects aren't going to feel the care. And if reps are pushing for closing and for dollars, they're going to have what everybody calls commission breath instead of looking at how much they're trying to help and how much you're trying to solve problems for this person. If you can show that you care about them, if you're trying to help them, if you're trying to help them solve their really, really bad situation that they're in, they're going to love you and they're going to trust you, and you'll be able to overcome any of those trust issues they built.
Awesome. Well, nothing worse than a bad case of commission breath. I think we can all agree. And I will add my 2 cents, because in preparation for this event, and this is around digital first trust building, trying to do the research to get the little trivia question at the beginning. I had to engage with a digital robot chat assistant followed by a human, because the robot assistant couldn't answer my question. And I felt the whole time that I was merely being slotted in to their sales process instead of answering the question that I had. And please don't do that. That's obviously, at the leadership and the marketing level, because we have this, we're going to qualify them. We're going to route the lead to the right person. Like, hey man, I just want your report. Like, could you just help me out with that? I do not want to give you my mother's maiden name and my social security number in order to get that. I tried to do it on your website. Your form was broken. This is why I'm talking to you. I'd rather have not talked to you at all. So, in a digital first environment, so now my view of that company is permanently tainted. I will not shame them publicly here, but please don't do that in the digital first world. All right. So who do we have next? Rajiv, I believe it's your turn to select a topic. So let us bring the game board back up for you. Where would you like to go?
One of my favorite movies of all time, Coach Carter.
Coach Carter. All right. And for this category, every wrong answer from our panel will result in needing to do 50 push-ups. Rajiv, your question is, your team recently adopted a real-time coaching tool to support reps during live calls. However, during a recent high-stakes demo, the tool provided so many suggestions that distracted the rep from the conversation. How would you refine the tool's implementation to ensure it enhances performance without creating unnecessary confusion?
I would start at the rep first, to look at the tool only when needed and not follow everything that is coming on the script. So the first things first, again, sales is very human. And when you're having a conversation, like if someone's on the phone continuously, you get very irritated at the dinner table, right? The same thing applies. It is very easy to figure out if somebody is just following a script or talking to you authentically and naturally, right? So yes, obviously not everybody is going to be ramped to the same level. They will need help. But the way we train the rep is to ensure that to go for what is just needed. And again, while implementing the tool, we need to understand that we should not make the tool a screen reader for the reps. So if we take care of that part and give everything that is available for the rep, like for example, some of the things that they should be looking at is what case study to tell this or to talk about to this customer, right? So that's a good thing you use a tool for. And obviously, from a live coaching standpoint, if there is an objection that you've not heard before, you can probably take a couple of seconds to look at it, etc. Right? But it should not become standard practice. So start at the rep, but implement the tool in such a way that it is having enough answers. New objections are being flagged and continuously updated. All materials are centrally sourced and updated. So these are things that we'll focus on from the tool.
Roy, I'm particularly interested in your answer to this question. I believe this is an area that you play in regularly.
Yeah, so first of all, choose the right tool. But beyond that, I think it's all about fine tuning. Like with data, like with many other things, with relationships, it's all about fine tuning. It's also setting the stage with the rep, telling them there is no finish line for the best meeting or the best meeting coach, human or software based or AI based. So I'll make sure we learn from one meeting to another, and make sure that we score the experience that we had, both from a results perspective. Did we get the next meeting with the buyer? What was their engagement during the meeting? But also from human feedback. How did you feel during the meeting? And put it into the model, into the data. So after a week, a month, whatever time frame we're dealing with, we would kind of get their sentiment and their confidence level during those interactions, and make sure that the team feels heard and that we are not trying to coach them with a very generic type of methodology where it doesn't fit their style, what they're selling, their buyer, the market, and so on.
So yeah, you said something interesting at the beginning. You said a lot of interesting things, but one of the interesting things you said there at the beginning was select the right tool. This is kind of a new area for folks. Like, do you have any sort of high level thoughts on like what that means for folks as they're kind of going into this world?
Yeah, so we started Salesforce about 3 years ago with that mission statement. Basically, we felt like that Zoom, as the sales cycle moved into more virtual, all touch points, or have some interaction of audio and video, and call recorders are nice, Gong and others, but they're always after the fact. And so if you didn't ask the question or you didn't touch on the right nerve, you learned something, but it's too late. I think regardless of the tool that you choose, again, it's all about using a data model, especially in real time. You don't have a lot of time. The machines don't have a lot of time to analyze different things. So transcription is happening in real time. And then on top of the transcription, you need to do something about it. What did you learn? Is it a question? Is it an objection? Is it a competitor name being mentioned? Is it a new market topic? So you need to quickly digest that information. In order to do that in real time, you need to know something from a data model perspective. It shouldn't be the first time you hear that keyword or that cluster of keywords in order to coach someone. That's going to be too late, and you don't want them to read something new during the meeting. To Rajiv's point, it's going to be very awkward. I'm reading, I'm interacting, I'm reading, I'm interacting. People don't communicate like that. So make sure that whatever tool you use, first have a high confidence level in the data that they have that reflects your sales cycle, your playbook, your competition, your sales enablement collateral, etc., etc.
So that's super helpful. And like, as you're talking, right, this harkens back to something that Jake said at the beginning about, we were talking about the tech stack in general. He's like, it's not just about selection, but it's about adoption. Right. And there we were really focused on making sure that, the people are using it, and, is there a training issue, et cetera. But you're also opening up this whole new world that I think probably a lot of folks who are maybe now CROs or VPs of sales didn't grow up in, which is now I need to also understand this idea of a data model and, being able to like also go maintain that and make sure that that's working alongside, make sure that my people know what they're doing. So very interesting new
We also
world.
need, well, one more point on that. I think the younger generation of sellers or revenue / customer facing talent, they grew up in a data-rich environments. They used to consuming a lot of information from multiple channels in real time, Snapchat, TikTok, choose your gaming. They're equipped with the muscles to handle the data. Just a matter of giving them the right data at the right time.
Love that. Well, Matt, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think with demos, with selling, sales calls, it's as much science as it is art. And I think to this point, to the question's point, if we have too much popping up, alerting the rep, they're going to get distracted and it kind of ruins the flow. It ruins the relationship between the rep and the buyer. And I wouldn't want that to happen. So if I were to implement something like this, I would absolutely want to keep it more minimal. And I want to make it something that aids the rep, something that gives them some valuable information at key moments. Like if they bring up competitors, hey, here's a list of 3 things we do better than that competitor, yada, 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 something like that. Hey, if they bring up an objection, here's some common responses to that objection, something like that. So maybe a relevant customer story at a particular key moment based on what's going on. But I really would want to keep distractions to a minimum because, like I said, I feel like that demo is a very personal thing. It should be very personal. You should be customizing it. You should be relating and connecting with your buyer. And if you're doing that well, having things kind of hit you during that and distracting you from that moment cuts away from that. And I wouldn't want that to happen unless it absolutely was aiding the sale.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, even harking back to the last topic, right, where it could also break trust, right? I mean, you could tell if someone's checking their email, right, or they got a Slack message in the middle of a conversation. Even if they don't look at it, you can tell that their attention went elsewhere for a minute. So a lot of new ways we have to sort of adopt to these technologies. And then I believe Jake, you get to go last on this topic.
I think we've said pretty much all we can. We just haven't seen one that people actually use. We've seen every company you can imagine launch a flavor of it. And in theory, it sounds like it would be a logical thing to support. We just haven't seen it at scale, where teams like, oh yeah, we've got, 100 people using this. So I would instead double down on training your reps in the first place. Instead of worrying about triaging later, I would say fix your terrible onboarding plan and actually teach people what these buyer personas do and who your competitors are and how you compete against them versus trying to triage in real time.
Love that.
I absolutely love that. And Jake, just from your experience, is there, and maybe you don't know, but is there particular reasons you think that are holding back that world right now? You said they're not being adopted sort of at scale. Is it just too early for the technology, or is
maybe? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I would say, I think that again, we're not used to. I mean, just think about it. It's funny. Somebody's talking about people and trust. If I'm not present and I'm not listening to you and I'm not able to be fully present and I'm worried about this thing, it's more distraction than it is value add. And I think for a lot of teams, I'm not saying that it's not very doable. And I think that there are some really good applications for it, to be very, very clear. I just think, maybe the market's not there yet, or the tools aren't there yet to do it the right way.
Yeah. Well, something to definitely keep our eyes on, as we've seen over the last couple of years. The technology field is changing incredibly rapidly. So, but I think good advice for maybe where we are state of the art today. Let's see. Going back to our game board, because I believe everyone has the chance to go on that question. I believe we were back to the top with Roy. Roy, where would you like to go?
Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes. All right. Your question: your sales team is pitching an innovative B2B SaaS product that solves problems many prospects don't yet recognize. Deals keep stalling because buyers say, we don't have this problem. Meanwhile, your existing customers rave about the value they've discovered. How would you coach your team to work with prospects to uncover and quantify unrecognized pain points?
Yeah, I'll go. To Jack's point, it's about coaching, but specifically in this use case, it's about coaching for curiosity and open-ended question. Understand what's the goals, what are the gaps to their goals, business, growth related or efficiency related, cost saving related, and know when to trickle down success stories at the right time. Perhaps even utilize customers in kind of small group settings, dinners, virtual meetups, to share information with people like you, same location, same title, same journey, same career journey. Have some patience because it takes time. Create a lot of content that is compelling, but it's more a marketing thing, but sales should feed kind of more context into that content as much as possible, and try to educate constantly. Again, it's not one meeting or one white paper that's going to make the difference. Priority changes. It's about timing. So you improve timing by having a lot of diverse touch points, virtual and non-virtual.
So allowing the relationship to expand sort of naturally over time, coaching for curiosity. Matt, what is your take on this?
Yeah, I think this is a very common thing. Sometimes you get into a situation, or even in many markets, where a lot of the prospects don't understand how bad things are for them. They get so locked into their own world, their own business, they don't realize that they're actually behind the times. And so part of our journey, part of our mission as sellers is to help prospects understand that they are behind, that they are missing out, that they're losing because they haven't updated, they haven't gotten up with the times. So one of the things that we do is we don't just take prospects for their word. If they say that, say their shoulder hurts, we really truly identify. We don't try to fix the shoulder problem. Obviously, I'm doing an analogy. We try to figure out what is the real problem and where is the actual pain. And so one of the things that I always coach my team on doing is ask process questions. Because if you know your market and your ICP well enough, then you should be able to identify where the issues within the process are. So instead of just saying, how many of this do you have? What do you do here? You asked, hey, if a situation came up where you had this happen and then that happened, what would you do? And how do you handle it today? And I love asking that question around where your market typically struggles. What do they suck at? What do they not do well? You know your ICP. Don't just think, hey, I know my ICP. They probably suck at this. No, you need them to voice it. So ask the question. I call it process bombs. Just lob a little bomb over there. You know it's going to blow up and they're going to get all frustrated. You need that pain to come out. Without pain, there's no sale. Without pain, there's no sale. You have to get them to voice the pain if you're going to move forward. And this is the best way to do it.
I when you started talking, I was like, yeah, how do you tell them they suck without telling them they suck? And you answered it brilliantly in there. So I didn't have to ask my follow-up question. Absolutely love that. Let's see, Jake.
I think this is a really interesting question because the job is called sales, okay? It's not called information giving. The job is to persuade people that, hey, you might not have thought that you needed something, but look, based on what you told me, and again, I'm not talking about selling something to somebody something they don't need. And so I think that it's kind of just an interesting question. I mean, there's a part of sales called create the need, which is before the demo, after the discovery, where you say, look, let's just talk about what's happening in the industry. Here are some macro trends that are happening, but this big issue is going to blow up in a lot of, insert job titles face. How are you guys thinking about this? And if there's no discomfort there, and not even pain, pain plus discomfort, they're not going to make a deal. And I do think it is an interesting thing. Like, this is sales, is selling people who aren't like, oh, hey, here's my credit card number. Like, that is our job. Like, that is what you are signing up for, assuming it's, something that they actually need. So I would say if every seller does not have this skill, you are not in sales.
We may have been too easy environments in the past, but that's awesome, Jake. All right, Rajiv.
Honestly, we face this every day, even today, because the category in which we are playing is also new. And without category knowledge, we always see that products are seen to be nice to haves rather than must haves in a lot of cases. And especially when you go in, the first thing that we focus on is like exactly what everyone said, right? The problem has to come out. And how do you make the customer talk about the problem themselves and reinforce it to them? And that is when a deal will move. You need inertia in a deal. If somebody is very comfortable doing what they're doing and they don't even know that they're lagging behind, they're not going to move at all. How do you create that inertia? You create that inertia through multiple touch points. One is educating, right? The industry is changing. Are you changing? Second, your peers have changed. Aren't you looking at it? Third, if you stay here, this is the impact that it's going to have. You're leaking money. So causing them to move from that place and showing that there's a real change that is happening is very important. And like Jake said, it is sales. You have to persuade. And before persuading, you educate. You create the place where they are really thinking about it. And once they are thinking about it, you show them the path, you become a consultant and tell them, hey, yeah, this is what most of the others are doing. You are safe doing this. And we know we can get you from here to there by doing these things. right? So ultimately, it's not just about showing a problem, but it's also being the guide that who can take the problem and create a solution out of it and make sure that they are in a better place. They need to believe it, and your team first needs to believe it. So if you're in a space where your reps are not completely believing in what you do, the story is not going to come out. So focus on that as well. That's a very important aspect in my opinion.
Love all of those. I think we may have time for one, possibly two more, but we'll say one more question. So I'll just kind of quickly move us through to the next. I believe, Matt, you are up on our board. Where would you like to take us?
I mean, a great movie all about the 80s, Ready Player One.
Ready Player One, yes, definitely has some nostalgia baked in for sure. The movie, not quite as good, but the book was definitely better.
Book was better.
Your sales team is adopting AI tools, but some reps worry their skills become obsolete while others struggle to adapt. As the leader, how would you design a 2025 sales strategy that balances both human talent with advancing technology? What skills are you looking to prioritize in hiring and training in 2025 and beyond?
Well, I mean, I think that's it. You said the word there. It is me, right? Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah.
You said the word there, adapt. Things are changing. And with AI, things are changing more rapidly than ever. So your team needs to be able to handle that sort of change and be able to understand that what they've done in the past might not be the exact thing that they're going to do going forward. So the thing I would look for is teams and people who are able to adapt and update and improve themselves through change. And if we can do that, if we're able to use AI to improve what we're doing, to help us be more efficient and to help our prospects and customers get to their goals, then things are going to be looking up really quickly.
I love that, Matt. So you're working with this group. You're saying, hey, adaptability is really key. So now someone's sitting there in an interview. Your new rep or new directors. You're like, I really need to make sure they have adaptability. What are you looking for? What are you asking them to really test for that skill?
Well, one of the things I want to do is see what they've done previously if things have changed. Hey, in your previous roles, if your team threw a new tool at you, how did you adjust to it? If you had a new process that had to happen, if you had a new leader come in, what did you do? How did you handle it? How did things go from there? And you can understand from their answers and the way they answer exactly how good they are at that and how much that might have perturbed them, or if they took it as a positive thing and learned and grew from it.
Awesome. Jake.
Oh man. There's a lot here. I mean, look, the ability to use generative AI is what's going to disrupt every role. I mean, if you talk to a group of teams, the leaders are so far behind in what's possible with generative AI and how to create custom. Somebody made a comment about this around training and onboarding. Like, I'm convinced now, I think I could ramp like an enterprise rep in probably 2 to 3 months with generative AI by using custom GPTs and just training them on like, this is the industry, this is the buyer, this is what matters, and creating real-time trivia games over and over and over again. And so I feel like sales leadership has outsourced its knowledge of sales technology for too long. And this isn't a sales technology, it's a foundational shift in how we solve problems as humans. There's a Wall Street Journal article that came out over the weekend said, Googling is for old people. And it's very true. If you're not adapting the way that you solve problems to implement generative AI in a vast majority of your decision-making and using tools like ChatGPT, you are just going to be absolutely left behind. And there's a person who's a B or B minus player that can just do so much more 80% to 90% quality things than somebody who thinks that, oh, I have to do this all manually. This is how I did it before. So I think tactical applications of ChatGPT for onboarding and training, and then how we prep for meetings, how we role play, how we summarize meetings. There's just a lot of applications around generative AI and ChatGPT and custom GPTs in particular that I think are very tactical and easy for teams to get started on.
Definitely. I completely agree. Rajiv.
So in my opinion, I think adaptability is definitely one of the most important traits I look for in a salesperson. But along with that, I also look for natural curiosity, because times are changing and you need to be curious to go try out different things and adopt it into your process as well. So those are two important traits for me, and the ability for them to be in a situation and figure out what to do. The natural problem solving is something that we are looking at. And from a strategy standpoint, yes, the ability to use AI is going to be extremely critical. But how you implement it on your daily life is something that you need to adopt to your style as well. So I'm looking at things where we are looking at AI is not just about efficiency. It's not just about automation. It is now about intelligence, right? How are we moving from being an efficient organization to an intelligent organization, leveraging all the data and the tools that are available to us is the most important part in my roadmap. And that's what we are focusing on.
Awesome. Roy, close us out.
Yeah, not to repeat, I would put a lot more emphasis during hiring and then onboarding on creativity. If data fetching is becoming a commodity, then really what's going to make the difference in the field is how creative they are in building the right relationship and building the trust and rapport that we expect them. And we need to think hard. How do we test, assess creativity? It's not it's a different answer for different people, different teams, different companies. It's not just in sales; it's in general. Creativity is going to be a big part of how we human still feel in control in the workforce of the future. So yeah, putting a lot more emphasis, giving this space for people to think outside of the box, share ideas, listen to the customers. Often they have a lot of good ideas, and find ways to quickly bring it into your decision-making processes.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone who has joined today. Audience poll, who's the winner? Everyone on our panel is a winner. Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts, insights, invaluable tips. Audience members, panelists, before you go, drop it in the comments. What's your biggest takeaway from today? I heard a lot of things. Adaptability, curiosity, really important as we go into this new world. A playfulness, a realization we're going into a world that many of your leaders did not grow up in. And so there's a real call to the younger reps in the organizations to bring some of that tech first mindset to maybe some of the old crusties in your organization. But everyone, go ahead and if you have not, if you want to get the recording, feel free to reach out to me. If you've already subscribed or registered on the StreamYard link, which I put in the chat earlier, you would get that automatically. Tomorrow, if for some reason that doesn't come through, you want to share it with your colleagues. Thank you to our entire panelists. And thank you to everyone who's attending. We are just 1 minute over, so I will end it for everyone there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.